Pastor Juan, you want to start us off with the prayer?
Amen, man. Let's do it. Father, we thank you. We thank you for this opportunity to come together. Kingdom mindset, business building, but also building families and talking a little bit about what our experiences has been. Today, Lord, we just come to you as humble servants. And right now we just release ourselves and we yield to you, Holy Spirit. Let's roll. Let's go. Let's speak your truth, Lord. But above all things, let this have the impact, not only for this generation, but for more generations to come. We give you all the glory and we give you all the honor. In your name we pray. Amen.
Well, thank you guys for coming. One of the reasons why I chose you guys was because this podcast is a little different. You know, we've seen a lot of podcasts talking about just business or, you know, people's journey and their struggle, and which everyone needs to hear. But I wanted to add, you know, another character to that, which is what happens when you let God into business. You know, what happens when your mind is focused on the kingdom, not just on business, right? But the two should go aligned, right? So, you know, that I brought you guys in so you can drop some of that wisdom too.
Right.
All right, so let's get it started. You want to start us off, John?
Yeah, we can't separate things out, Brandon, like you said. Marriage, ministry, business. There is no secular and sacred. It's all the same thing, right? We live one life and we can't compartmentalize our life. It's all the same thing. And if we have God at the center, if he's the one at the beginning and at the head, things work out right. So I've got a question for you about your early days. I want you to tell me a little bit more about the early days of business and ministry and life for you. How did it feel when you've just started out?
Oh, man, that's a great question. It was scary. I say my faith didn't really cement into what it is now until I got into business. Right. I have a degree. I've had different professions. I've worked as an educator. I worked in ICUs. I've worked in banks. Right. But starting your own business is another world. You don't know what tomorrow looks like. You don't know where that next paycheck is coming from. You know, you truly learn to live on faith and depend on God. You know, all I can do is what's within my realm. So I wake up early, I go and look for tomorrow's job, but it's ultimately up, you know, I'm working believing that if I do my part, I do my work in the natural. Everywhere I fall short, which I do fall short, God's gonna supplement in the supernatural. Right. So it's really where my faith grew, because sometimes I was, putting 20 hours a week and I feel like nothing will get accomplished. And I really had to learn to just allow God to work. And, you know, you reach those moments where you're like, I'm doing everything I can. I'm out of ideas. I'm out of strength. And, you know, when you reach those points, and as a man, that was my hardest part, is letting God come in and say, okay, this business is yours. It's not mine.
Right.
Then I started seeing a growth that was supernatural. And to this day, it's still, you know, it's still scary, but that's what faith is, right? But yeah, what about you, Pastor Juan?
I mean, I think that laying down roots is the toughest thing you ever have to do. And it's the longest process overall, right? So in those early days when I was an entrepreneur, trying to make a name for myself, knocking on doors, making sales call, everything like that, every call was an act of faith. That's what was going to pick up and listen to me, right? So I think that that's the important component to it, is how you build that consistency. Consistency creates authenticity. And it's important to know that people want to know how consistent you are, how long you've been at. It sounds good. It sounds great, right? You get caught up in the media, or you get caught up on the social media, get a hashtag, let's do some labels and put on a t-shirt. But are you going to grind every day? Are you going to put in the work to go deep, not so much go wide? And whether you're laying down a business, whether you're church planting, where you're doing anything new, it takes time to lay down roots and to let those roots settle in a fertile place. And I think that's the toughest thing. You want to know why? Because it's a thing that's not seen. Roots are never seen. They're always underground. And a lot of the work that you do at the beginning is unseen. then people show up. When do they show up? They show up when they see the fruits, when they see what's going on, when they see the harvest. But no one's really going to be there or see that undercover working that you're doing, the grind, the getting up, the skipping the breakfast, or the, having the lunch on the go so you could go to your next meeting and, drive. And so for me, my faith was tested in resiliency, is to making sure that what's the goal, what's the end goal, and how do I get there? And Lord, just give me the strength to make the next call. Because when you're in sales, I've been in sales my whole life. You've got to have a short memory. You've got to have a very, very short memory. You can't carry either the success of the last call or the negativity of the last call into the next one. You have to have that quick reset button, shake it off, and boom, let's go. And so that's something that I've learned, to just have a short memory and then trust that the next person is going to say yes. I heard one of my mentors once told me, it's like, every time I hear a no, it's one less no my kids would have to hear.
That's good.
So I made it a notion that a no for me was a positive thing, because that's one less no that my kids would hear.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah, one of the gurus in solar sales, right? Michael O'Donnell's a good friend of mine. He always tells people when he's training them, he says, we don't get paid for the yeses, we get paid for the nos. Right. So having a short memory is okay, I got to know here at this house. And yeah, you're getting rejected. That's where people have a hard time. But when you flip it, it's like, okay, I need to get my 10 no's out the way so that I can get to my one yes.
Yeah.
Right. It's a numbers game at the end. So I like that you said having a short memory, because a lot of people, they get all this rejection, all these no's at the door or on the phone. And now they believe that it's them. And I don't realize is that you just that's part of your process. You have to get through those no's to get to your yes.
Yeah, and one of the top recruiting commercial businesses out there that I was a part of actually recruits athletes that are from college. And the reason why is because to be successful as an athlete, you have to have a short memory. Because especially in baseball, you guys shake that off, you're always going to have another chance at bat. So a good athlete would most times make a great salesperson, because they've been disciplined to have a short memory, to brush off that last shot, to brush off that last play, and to play again and to try again. And historically, it's been proven that a lot of this, they recruit specifically as part of their process. They ask, do you play sports? Are you an athlete? What do you do? Because an athlete is embedded since a child to have short memory and to move on and keep on going. So it's not only a philosophy, it's a strategy for recruitment.
You just gave me an idea. I'm going to steal that.
Come on. It's one of the words we released for 2024 this year was about resiliency and persistence. And how we need to grow in resiliency and persistence. And one of the things I'm thinking about right now as you guys are speaking is those no's, we could see them as failures. It's how we use them, it's what we do with them. And if we were to use those no's or those failures as building blocks to lay a foundation, to say, I'm going to move forwards on this, I'm going to use this as my strength. It's not going to stop me. It's not going to hold me back. It's not going to discourage me, but I'm actually going to use the no's or use the failures of life to become stronger. We're going to lay building blocks. We're going to lay a roadmap ahead of us, and we're going to become more resilient and more persistent, to the point that now we actually get excited when we get a no. It's like, yes, another no. We are going to use this no to propel us into the things that we're going to do moving forwards. It's not going to stop us. It's not going to hold us back, but it's going to strengthen us. And there's a commitment in that growing of becoming more resilient and more persistent that we're committed to learning. What did we learn from this experience? Where do we go from here? Why did we get a no? How did we instigate the no? Where did the no come from? And how can we learn from that? And how can we utilize that no or that failure to move forwards, to become more effective and to become more successful? I think we all want to become more successful. We all want to become more effective. We all want to do better. We all want to improve. And if we learn that those no's that we get or those failures that we experience can actually become part of that process of our growth and our learning, we can use them in a different way and they have a better impact on us. So I would encourage all of us and those people listening that a no is not a negative thing. A no is not the end. A no is not you've failed. A no is actually keep going, keep trying, be resilient, be persistent, and we will arrive to the end goal if we stay on the track. The moment we get discouraged, the moment we stay off the track or we step away, we end right there. That is the end point. But we can use that no to propel us, to strengthen us, to encourage us, to keep going, to keep trying, and we will arrive in the right timing.
Yeah, see, I don't believe in no's. I believe in the power of not yet.
Yeah.
I don't believe in no's. No's is the absolutes. And it puts a finality to things. So when someone tells me no, I believe in not yet.
All right.
Maybe this is not the right season. Maybe this is not the right time. But eventually, you're going to buy from me. Yeah. Eventually, we're going to be in a relationship. Eventually, we're going to do something. So I've automatically, to John's point, have allowed myself to not know. And the reason for that is because I was raised with some rejection. And receiving no's will shut me down.
Right.
And will trigger some things. Yep. So I've had to learn that the power of not yet doesn't put a closed door on that transaction or on that relationship or on that situation. So I believe in not yet. Okay, let me plant the seed. But now it's a challenge for me. Now it becomes fun. Now it's like, okay, what do I have to do, to your point, to move that not yet to a yes? Because now I'm competitive. Now I'm not losing this. So now I'm playing the long game. Now I'm planting seeds and seeing, okay, what's it going to take? A year, 2 years, 3 years, but it's going to be a pending item in my bucket list until I check you off. And that drives me to just be better. And also that drives me to get creative and not stay stagnant on my approach. I think many times when we hear no, then we just stay in that cookie cutter approach, but a not yet allows you to get creative and start getting outside of the box to catch that person's attention. Because what doesn't work for one is going to work for the other.
That's good. I remember when I'm out there on the doors knocking and, I come across a customer that tells me that they're not interested. No, I don't want solar. My response is that it's save my information, look up who we are. You don't need solar right now, which is fine. But you're going to cross a pain point, right? Where going to us is going to allow you to be able to afford electricity. So I understand right now it's not good for you. It doesn't make sense. Perfect. When that point comes, save my information. But I've never really looked at it like that as, a no versus not yet. To me, it's that has always come naturally. But I think of my guys now, and yeah, when they're at the doors and when we're using our tools to canvas, they just mark something as no, not interested, and then it gets removed.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I like that. We're gonna change those from not interested to not interested
drip.
Yet.
It's called a drip campaign. Maybe you drip on them 30 days, you send another drip 90 days from now. Then you move that to 6 months. Then you move it to yearly, and you drip, 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 drip. Eventually, what's gonna happen is when that pain point comes, that drip is gonna allow them to remember, oh, this is a different company. You're hitting them. You're hitting them consistently. And there's a lot of marketing, that's why we drip on folks, because not everyone's going to buy or do the transaction at the first time. So yeah.
And sometimes that first time isn't the correct time for them. Mm-hmm. That's okay. And I think in our industry, that's been the problem that, these young kids going out there door to door, they need something to happen now, and integrity has gone out the window.
It has.
Right. So
change the scorecard sometimes. Sometimes we think the scorecard is saying yes to the transaction. What if the scorecard is that somebody answered the door?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's you consider that success. Like, success to me has not to be defined by someone else's reaction to what I'm offering. Mm. Success to me, because I battle with procrastination, is doing it. And if somebody opens the door, I consider that success. So I won. Whether the transaction gets a yes or a no, when I change my scorecard of how I score myself, then I go ahead and say what works for me. So maybe for those guys initially is how many people open the door for you. That's success, right? Okay, great. Now let's move to the next corner of success? Did you get the sale? No. Okay, so if you change the scorecard, you stay motivated on that. And I think that's important to do, to keep positive things happening. When you're in sales, you need to be reinforced and find things that you consider success for your own personal scorecard to keep you motivated and move forward.
When we're secure in who we are, when we know our identity, we stop questioning things. It's not about what we did wrong or how we could do it better. It's about knowing who we are. And the people on the other side of the call or the other side of the door, they can sense, they can feel when that person talking to them knows who they are. And the biggest thing I would encourage people is to really deeply investigate who you are and how you were created, why you were created, and what your purpose is. Because when we know what our purpose is, when we know why we were created and what we were created for, we walk in authority of the security of our identity. And for me, that's the difference. It doesn't matter whether the deal is made or not. If we know who we are, we communicate with confidence and we communicate with clarity. And that's what people are looking for. In today's age, there's so much nonsense out there. There's so many things that you just can't trust anymore. The media is pulling us in different directions and causing problems all over the place. And what people are looking for today is vulnerable, genuine, open, and transparent communication. And I really do strongly believe that if I know who I am, I can communicate a message with confidence, and that message is more received. It's communicated in a more effective way. And it's all really down to the fact that I know who I am. I'm not questioning myself. I'm communicating with confidence and clarity because I really believe in the message that I'm communicating. So it transfers over to sales as well. When we're offering a product to somebody or a service to somebody, and we really believe in that product or that service, and we really know who we are as we communicate it, it leaves less room for error and for questions to be asked. People just get what they're given. They know what you're saying is true. There's integrity in your voice. There's integrity in the way that you're communicating, even in your body language. And people kind of respond in a way of like, this guy knows what he's talking about. He's telling me the truth. The product he's offering to me is the genuine product. It's going to work the way he's telling me it's going to work. And I'm ultimately going to be satisfied because this guy's communicating it with confidence. And that confidence comes across to me. So when I purchase that product, when I buy that service, when I engage with that individual, I know what I'm getting is what they're saying they're going to give to me in the first place.
Yeah, no, I know you have to have some funny stories about knocking on doors and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
anyone comes to mind?
Man, I've seen it all.
Okay.
From having guns pulled out on us to,
Come on.
you know, what I tell them is like, man, I'm here to help you. Now, if you don't want to be helped, that's okay.
Okay.
But yeah, door-to-door sales it's a whole nother, it's a beast of its own. The reason is people buy based on emotion. Right. All this, the social media, all of the marketing now has really brainwashed people to buy off emotion and not buy off of intuition. Like
Right.
They don't care if you have the best product. They don't care if you're the expert. They rather buy from someone that gives them the warm fuzzies. And that's what's gotten us as consumers in trouble, right? Because me as the expert, me as the person with integrity said, here's my product, here's what I deliver, here's what harvest is, you're getting exactly what we're saying. I'm not going to put a pony show for you and give you the warm fuzzies because I am confident in what I have. Right. And that's been the challenge because people want someone to say, yeah, here's solar, but I'm going to give you all this extra that doesn't make sense. Right. They're doing this pony show for you just because there's no confidence in their product. But our consumers are so used to buying that. Right. That's been the challenge in the industry for us is, no, I don't have competition. Right. Now, there's other great companies, but they're not going to beat us in integrity. They're not going to beat us in workmanship. They're not going to beat us in customer service. And we're a brick and mortar place. But people don't want that. They want someone that gives them the warm fuzzies. But that it's not even in solar. That's
all around.
Yeah.
I mean,
but
I think that's all around. People want to hear what they want to hear, and also what they have been trained to hear. So I'm in the finance business. I do loans, and people are trained to what's the rate. That's the question they asked me right off the bat. I want the rate. I said, rate is irrelevant.
No.
I said, rate is irrelevant, right? I mean, if I give you a high rate, right, and I spread it out for 100 years, that's going to be a very low payment. And if I give you a low rate and then I spread it out through 6 months, that's going to be a high payment. So what's rate really? What you need to be asking is, what's the payment? How can I afford it? And things like that. But they've been trained, right? So like in solar, they've been trained that, well, this person's offering me this. So you don't have competition, but you have a lot of people seeding doubts into your customers. Or, well, I just spoke with a solar company. They told me they did this and that. And they're like, that's great.
Yeah,
that's
look at the reviews.
Coca-Cola, you got Pepsi, and you got Dr. Pepper. No worries.
With us, it's like you have, Coke, or you have, what's that off-brand for Coke? That's
Shasta.
Yeah.
Shasta Cola. Come on, y'all know y'all had some Shasta. Andy grew up.
You're talking a different language now, you guys.
We just had cola. We didn't make it to
End up with a Dr. Thunder instead of a Dr. Pepper.
That's the issue. It's like, well, this person's offering me this. Okay, look at the reviews. Look at their history. There's a reason why he's offering you all the extra, because their service and their product is horrible.
Yeah.
It's Pavlov's dog, though, isn't it? I mean, we've been trained to expect the extra. And sometimes we look for the extra. We look for those gimmicks. We look for those kind of cool, flashy things around the edges. And we don't even consider the quality of the original product that we were aiming to purchase. We should start looking at the quality of the installation, the integrity of the team, the way in which people treated us and respected us, and stop looking for those extras. Like, I want the gimmick thing, I want the extra. But we've put our attention or our focus on the extra, and we've forgotten about the very thing that we opened the door to. We're looking for solar. We're looking for a quality product. We're looking for a clean installation. We're looking to save money on our electric bills. We're looking to be green and take care of the planet and these things. But yet somebody comes along and offers us this extra, and we get distracted by the extra. And before we know it, we're signing up to something that we don't even really fully, truly understand. One thing that I love about Harvest is you guys just clearly communicate what it is that you're offering. It's very clear. It's very black and white. This is what we're offering. This is what you're going to expect. This is what we're going to deliver on. And we're not going to worry too much about the extras. We're actually going to take our time to focus on the quality of the service and the product that we're offering. And you're going to get what we're offering to you.
Yeah, it's like, going to a Brazilian steakhouse, and I'm not going to name one of my favorite ones out there because they haven't paid me for that. So we'll talk about that later. But getting all caught up on the sides, right? And then you have all these meats that are coming and all these things, but you get caught up on the sides and stuff like that, and you start eating and consuming, and when the meats come out, you're full of the sides, but you didn't go there for the sides. You went there for the main thing. And I one of the things I respect about Harvest is they know what the main thing is, and they stay doing the main thing. And when you stay doing the main thing, going back to John's point, is because you know who you are, and what you're trying to do is set the standard for the industry. And when you set the standard for the industry, you're spearheading an approach that in comparison is going to be completely different than what everyone else is doing, because they're going to be looking for sides and you're going to be offering the main course. This is what I have, and it's okay. Eventually, those sides are not going to fill you, and I'm still going to be here, and I'm not going to judge you. I'm going to serve you, and I'm going to offer you what we are. And it's understanding where your lane is and understanding what God called you to do and what your service is, and then perfecting your craft and just staying focused on that is the key to anything having longevity, not just having sensationalism and shortcuts here and there, and then all of a sudden they just fizzle out. We're not about to fizzle. We're about the steak and potatoes, mean, lean, and clean. Energy.
That's good.
Brandon, talk to me a minute about integrity. Let us know and tell us why Harvest has made it a core value of your business and organization to have integrity in underpinning everything that you do.
Integrity is our main core value because it's what is lacking in the industry. But it goes deeper than that. People that know me, one thing that they can attest is that they can describe me in one word. It's integrity. You get what you see at all time. I'm going to be the same person when you're not there than when you are. Yeah. I treat everyone's home as if it was my parents' home. right? When I say to customers, because I'm not gonna put something on your home as one of my customers that I wouldn't put it on my mom and dad's house. Right, so when I take that level to attention to everything that I do, I'm doing it as if I'm doing to my parents or to my own house. You know, you're getting the best, whether it's you're getting a fair market price, you're getting the best installation that you can possibly have, you're getting the best equipment that we can buy. I'd rather pay more money on equipment up front than get something cheaper and have to worry about trying to do service 5 years later because that equipment went out. Right, but it's just who we are. I've grown in business for the simple thing. We just do business right with integrity. And when people ask me, it's like, what are you doing that separates you? I say, I'm not doing anything out of the world. I'm just doing business how it should be done.
Right.
But no one is doing that, so we stand out. Right? No one has integrity. You know, I've heard customers tell me, hey, someone's offering me 2 free years of electricity. Yeah, that's because they're charging you $20,000 more for that system. I mean, if you want to pay $20,000 more and get 2 free years, I mean, anyone will do that for you. I'm not offering you 2 free years because I'm not upcharging you that much. I'm not upcharging you 20 grand. Right? So but what separates us has been that there's been no governing body. It's just a lot of gray areas. So we stand out because I don't need the government. I don't need the attorney generals on my back to tell me you have to do business this way.
Right.
No, we have our own core values that say we're going to do business with integrity, whether we're being watched or not. Not because I can get in trouble or slap on the wrist or get fined, because it's simply the right thing to do. Right. That's our foundation.
Yeah, and that is the definition of integrity. When you do the right thing, whether someone else is looking or not, or whether you know you can get away with it, would you still do it?
Right.
In essence, that is the definition of integrity, doing the right thing when no one is looking.
Yeah, it's been a key part in my life and in how we do business.
Okay, so we've talked a little bit about business, and then we've also talked a little bit about faith and what we believe in. So tell me about a time in where faith and business intersected, and what was that like, or has that happened, and how did you manage that connection, or how did you manage that interaction when your faith and your mission statement for faith and your business intersect?
Oh man, so it started let's start from the beginning. As the business started to grow and we became, quote unquote, a little more successful, I saw something happen. My circle started to change. Actually, it became very lonely. You get into this transition where, you know, your old circle, you don't fit in with them anymore, but you haven't developed enough to have a new circle. And in that stage of loneliness, it's where a lot of doubt came in. And a man's not meant to be lonely, right?
That's right.
You know, my wife is always there, always supportive, but this is not that type of loneliness. This is where, God, why did you put me here? Like, I was okay with my circle. Why? Like, who am I really that now I have to go through this transition? And in that moment of loneliness, it's when you're in that proverbial cave that you either do two things: either you give up or you look for God and really work on who it is that you are. Right. And during that transition, I remember you know, business was going good, but you know, I had chaos internally. Right. It doesn't matter, you know, how much money you're making if you don't have that peace from God. It is very lonely. That's the reality. A lot of entrepreneurs don't talk about that, but how do they drown out that noise, that alcohol, drugs, woman? You know, that's the truth. I know kids that are making $20,000 a week, and though they have the appearance of being happy, they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Money doesn't money's a necessity. Of course, money allows us to do things, get things that we want, go places we want, take out your family, etc. But it doesn't give you joy.
Right.
Right. And when you reach that point of loneliness, it's that either you drown it with alcohol, drugs, women, or whatever your escape is. And for me, it was getting down on my knees and really saying, okay, God, who am I to you? What is my mission? What is my purpose? And when you give God that room, what I saw in business was that year, I started with 3 employees and we finished with close to 40 a matter of 8 months. Right. It was this supernatural growth that didn't make sense.
Yeah.
But also something interesting is that even our name, where I go and I have my brand, I've gone to big events and someone looks at me and they stop. You're a believer, right? I'm like, why? He's like, I see it on your logo. I see you're a believer, right? Yes, I am. I want to know. Then they turn around. I'm like, ooh. It's like, what? But, when our brand, Harvest is not mine. I'm the steward. Right? Harvest is not mine. Harvest is God's.
Amen.
And having that, it's that relationship where I understand that it's not mine has helped me not only grow, but endure a lot of the pain. Because being a business owner is painful. It is. No one sees, like you said, the roots. No one sees behind the scenes. No one sees the loneliness. No one sees the headaches, the pains. Like this year, you said this year your word for the year was resilience. It's been interesting because everyone that I've talked to this year that's a business owner, an entrepreneur, they're trying to survive.
Yeah.
Right. We've seen titans in the industry. It's a play on words, but we've seen titans in the industry go down this year that are having ripple effects on manufacturers, on lending, on our industry. But I see that in every industry. Everyone else that I talked to said, how's business? It's horrible. It's like we're trying to survive. Right. But on social media, everything's great. Everything's great. No one talks about how
the
hard
appearances, right?
Yeah.
The tidbits.
Image.
It's
Yeah.
all about image, right?
But for me as a business owner, when it's slow, I don't worry. My worry is not only for myself, it's for all those families that are on their harvest. Right.
And that's the pressure that no one talks about, right? The responsibility of not only for your family, but the responsibility that you have for those that are under you that are also providing for their families. And that falls heavy. And you have to have an outlet, you have to have partnerships, you have to have individuals that are like-minded, right? That are going through you and can understand you, and that you can open with and talk with. And no one's meant to do it alone, and I think it's so important to have those individuals in your life that either have ggone through it. You should always have 3 people in your life.
Come on.
Always have 3 people in your life. One person who is where you want to be, so they can guide you there. One person that's walking with you to get you there. And then the third person that you're bringing up to get to where you're at. Because you're always using church words. You're always a Paul to a Timothy, and then you are always a Timothy to a Paul. So you have to identify who those 3 individuals are in your life. Because in those tough moments that you're going through, it's not about you.
That's right.
It really isn't. It's not about me. It's about the why. Lord, why am I going through this? And who is this? I changed that mentality instead of saying, why am I going through this? And I started asking, who am I going through this for? I changed my why to a who. Who am I going through this for? Who is this going to bless? Who is this going to help? And when you do that, then you remove yourself from that situation. And now you start looking at the lessons behind it, and you start writing them down and understanding that down the road, someone's going to receive this as an advice or as a plan or as a warning, but you have to have those three people in your life to be able to know where to go. I've got people who pull me. I want people to pull me up. I want people to hold me accountable. I want people to call me out. And I tell them that when I go into a mentorship with someone, I said, what do you need? That's the first thing they ask me is, what do you need from me? Accountability. Call me out. I need you to correct me, put some things in place. And if I'm not doing it, because I procrastinate, I know I know what I do, right? So when I ask for that mentorship, someone that I'm looking forward to, I ask for that accountability so they can push me and they can pull me. Because I like what John stated. You can't separate what you believe in and what you're working with. Your business is the ministry in the marketplace. And Jesus worked more in the marketplace than he ever worked inside of a church. And we could talk about for days, but the wonders, the miracles, the impacts that he has, the businesses that he affected, all of that was marketplace ministry. We flipped it around, right? We've kept everything inside, but truly marketplace ministry is where it happened. It rarely happened within the four walls. People only met once or twice a week or whatever in the temple, but they worked every day.
Right.
So I asked that question because many times our faith does intersect. And then we have to sit down and be like, okay, Lord, I know I'm at work. And you know, there's all these chatter and all these rules and policies, don't push this and that. But at the end of the day, you've got to, if the Holy Spirit is opening a space for you in your marketplace, because there's a person in need, I have prayed for that. Remember this, you have prayed for what you're experiencing right now.
There's an interesting phenomenon happening right now. And I think it's happening in the church, it's happening in ministries, and it's happening in business. And it's this idea of the fear of failure. We all talk about the fear of failure. We don't do anything, we don't step out, we don't take risks because we're worried that we're going to fail. There's a flip side to that. And it happens a lot in church and in ministry, and that is the fear of success. If I'm successful, what are people going to say? If I'm successful, how are people going to feel about me? Are they going to call me prideful, or are they going to call me arrogant, or are they going to say that I'm doing it in my own strength to build my own name? There's a big difference between somebody that is building an empire and building the kingdom of God. And I believe that we are to be successful as children of God, building the kingdom of God. And actually the fear of success is false humility. And false humility is pride. As Christian businessmen step up and step out, and as they lead successful businesses, the question is not why they're doing it, it's what they're doing it for. What are you going to do with your success? What are we going to do with our success? Are we going to invest it back in the kingdom and therefore see kingdom reward on our investment? Or are we going to invest it in earthly, fleshy things that make us feel and look good? So it's an encouragement, isn't it? Not to be fearful of success, because that really is pride. It's pride. It's false humility. It's saying we can't be successful. We can't get ahead. We've got to remain poor. We can't get results, because if we do, people are going to judge us. They're going to question us. They're going to think that we're prideful and arrogant. Actually, as believers, as Christians, as men of God, as businessmen of God, we are to be successful. We're to be at the top of our game. We're to get educated, and we're to do the work, and we're to work out in the mornings, and we're to become effective at what we do, because our success, it doesn't belong to us in the first place. It belongs to the one that created us. We're successful for him. We're created in his image and his likeness, and our success is from him in the first place. So we have to be careful that when we get successful, when we get ahead, when we make money, when we're able to bless people, we give the glory to him. Like, Lord, I'm doing this for you. This business belongs to you, and the results and the fruit of this business belong to you. We need to step out. We need to step up. We need to get confident. He's created us. He's a creator. He created us to be amazing people. We have amazing minds. We have amazing abilities. And if we were to take the risk and to step out and start using the very thing that he's given us and placed in our hands, we would be more successful. And I think people that are outside of the church, that are outside of the body of Christ, they're looking to see that. People listen to people that have results. People that are busy getting results. They have an authority. People listen to them. And as we step out, and as we desire to become more successful, if we're doing it because we're giving glory to the Father that created us, then we're going to be more attractive to the world. I think there's a reason why ministries or the church, the body of Christ, is not attractive to the world right now. And it's because we're not getting results. People are motivated and people are driven by results. And if we as Christian businessmen, if we as ministers of the gospel would really step out and not walk in a fear of being successful, in that false humility or that pride, that we've got to stay humble and we've got to stay low, we would reach more people for the sake of the gospel.
Okay, so I'm going to double down on that and ask. So the fear of success and the fear of failure both are rooted in pride.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Listen to that, because that's good. Because I battled in my earlier years as an entrepreneur. I didn't fear failure. I feared success. I knew I was going to be successful. I knew that I was going to, close loans, do what I have to do. And my fear was, how am I going to manage success? And that fear of success paralyzed me.
Yeah.
And it took me time, to get that. Never connected it with pride and false humility until now. So we're always learning. So today I sat there, I'm like, wow, Lord, like you pulled it out of me from different areas. But that is so true. And if you're raised in a rough upbringing where you've got to hustle and bustle, right, and didn't have much growing up, that fear of success can paralyze you. And that's powerful. I mean, that don't bless me right now.
So listen to this. If you're told you'll never be good enough and you believe that you'll never be good enough, you'll never be good enough. If you're told you'll never be successful and you begin to believe that you'll never be successful, you will never be successful. The things that are spoken over us have an impact in our life. There's power of life and death in the tongue. And our parents don't even realize that sometimes. They didn't do it on purpose. They were not intending to be harmful and malicious to us, but they make comments. Yeah. They tell us, you did that wrong. You're doing this wrong. You're not doing that right. You're not going to succeed in that area. You won't be successful in that. And those labels, we take them on ourselves. And if we're not careful, we start to believe them. Now, the problem is not that they were spoken over us. The problem is that we started to believe them when they were spoken over us. And one of the keys to success is to take off the labels that have been spoken over us and say, I don't agree with that label. I'm not prideful, I'm not arrogant, but I do not receive the label that I will not be successful, because I will be successful because my Father tells me that he created me for success. He created me with a purpose. There's a purpose and a plan for my life. And if I surrender my life to him, and if I'm obedient to the things that he's asked me to do, I will see success. And then the question is whether we worry about or not what people think. Because people are always going to be there to judge us. There are always going to be competitors. There are always going to be people that try and talk us down. And we're going to stand with a quiet and secure confidence that yes, maybe before I didn't believe I was good enough. Maybe before I had an identity issue. Maybe before I did believe that I would not make anything of myself and not be successful. But that's changed now because I'm believing what the Lord says about me. I'm believing my kingdom identity. And all through scripture, all through his word, there are many, many statements that tell us who we are. And for me, the key to success, the key to getting ahead is knowing who we are again. It comes back to that same point. What is my identity? How was I created? Who created me? Why was I created? And then what am I going to do about it? And if we learn that we were created by him, for him, to do greater works than he did for his name and his glory, we're on to a great start.
Being bold sometimes in Christianity comes across as being prideful. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you that Jesus was bold in a lot of moments, never prideful. So we can't confuse the authority that God has given us. And when we exercise that authority and there's some opposition to the authority of what God has told us to do, and if I exercise my authority given to God and I go ahead and act on that in a bold way that ruffles some feathers, I'm automatically labeled as arrogant and prideful. But to John's point, if you know that you are acting in that boldness and in authority, it's irrelevant the label they're trying to place on you. And I think many times as Christian business owners and as people who are leading, we have to make bold decisions. I mean, battlefield decisions are then discussed in strategy sessions after the war is won. But you have to make battlefield decisions. You don't sit there and ask, what are we doing now? No, man, we fighting. We're going to move. We're going to do it. Maybe I'll make a mistake, but we're moving forward. Let's make a bold decision. Let's do this. And then we can sit down and play Monday morning quarterback and play the tape back over and figure out how do we do forward. So I am encouraged and want to let people know that you have an authority, act in that boldness. And if anybody tells you it's pride or that you're being arrogant, understand who you are. And understand who has called you and that you are walking in that, and don't be afraid to act. Don't be afraid to step out. Because at the end of the day, I love what you said, Harvest Solar is not mine. It's not mine.
Yeah.
This is yours, Lord. I am a conduit. I am a servant. I walk around with a servant towel. What do you want me to do, Lord? It's not mine. At the end of the day, this is your kingdom. These are your people. How should I serve them? How should I help them? How should I use my talents to build the kingdom that the next person that comes after me, hopefully my kids and my legacy, can build upon that foundation?
Yeah, knowing your identity is important. You know, during that time of struggle and figuring out who I am, it was learning that my identity is I am a son. I am his son. And it reminds me of a story. You know, my oldest, Josh, he was in the office last week or 2 weeks ago. And when we're going home, he left home with me. He was helping just organize the office, organize the warehouse. He wants to make some money to buy his brother a birthday gift, right? So I said, all right, come to the office. When we're leaving, he said, Dad, he said, when I get older, he's like, I want to work for you. And I look at him and I tell him, I said, do you not know who you are? Right. I said, yes. I said, I want you to work here in Harvest, but your job is not to work for me. Right. So you're my son. So you will replace me. Your job is to become the better version of me. Right. I'm laying the path. You're sprinting down.
Yeah.
Right. But it's knowing who we are. Right?
Yeah.
When we know who we are, when we know that we're God's children, I'm his son, you know, you own up to that authority. And it's not just an authority, it's a responsibility too. Right? Because what I do, what I say, the weight that it carries isn't just mine, it's my Father's.
Yeah.
Right. So it gives us authority, but we should also know that with that authority comes responsibility.
So true. When we're pioneering a path, we're not doing it for ourselves. The reason we step out and take risks to pioneer a path is so many people can follow us. And we have to think about what we're looking at as we pioneer the path. We should be looking ahead, we should be looking forwards, and we should be fixing our eyes upon Christ, because he is the one that called us to pioneer the path. And as we take risks and as we step out and as we put every ounce of energy on the inside of us into pioneering that path, it means that many people can follow us. And the funny thing about pioneering a path is that it's hard. We have to cut branches out of the way. We have to smash boulders. We have to move obstacles. We have to think about something that does not yet exist and believe that it can come into being so that we can be blessed and so all of those people behind us can be blessed. And I don't think it just stops with our family either. I think our wives, our children, our children's children, but also the community of people God's called us to as well. As we pioneer a path, as we make a way where there seems to be no way, hopefully the fruit of doing that will be blessing for so many people behind us. Brandon, tell me a little bit more about how it's felt for you being a pioneer. How does it feel to blaze a path, to pioneer a path, knowing that there's going to be many, many families in the DFW area that are blessed because of what you've done?
It's scary because when you're a pioneer, you said, I don't know the route. Right? There are obstacles to move. There are trees to cut down. And I'm walking with a compass. And that's Christ for me. All right. I know my end point, and I just have a compass and then raw material. So it is scary, but that's where faith comes in. It's also been very rewarding too, because we have seen families change now, not just, what we're doing for my children, for everyone in Harvest that's under the Harvest brand for their children or and our grandchildren, but we're seeing people outside of myself benefit now, right? People that are in houses that have been in apartments for generations.
Awesome.
Right. People that are planning weddings now. It takes money to plan a wedding. It takes money to want to get married. Right. That's also rewarding. Being able to see how other people are growing, how other people's life changes. What I tell these guys is, I laid down the path for you. Said I already walked it, man. So you just follow behind me. Here's the road. Now it's not easy. The snake's on the way. You have to kill a few wolves in there. Right. But here's the path. Here's the tools. Walk. If you can do that, it's life-changing. Because again, money isn't everything, but we need it. It's a resource, not just for us, but to finance the kingdom. Right. I'm trying to raise millionaires because there's a lot of kids in Central America, South America that don't have any food, don't have homes. And the reality is it takes money.
That's right.
You know, it takes more than a prayer. We're the answer to those prayers. Right. So I can't do it alone. So I want to build others that can help finance that. But it is rewarding to be able to see, had someone tell me, man, I haven't taken my family on a vacation and now I can.
Come on.
Right. So it's been very rewarding because it's not just about me. When you make money, you get to a point, and I'm not a billionaire or anything like that. No, not yet. We're good. That's
Not yet.
Not yet. But you know, that you get to a point where you can buy whatever you see. But that doesn't mean that I'm gonna buy it. I don't need it. You know, at first, when you first start making a little bit of money, I see this trend. People just go crazy and start buying everything because they couldn't buy it before. But then they quickly realize it's like a new car. You buy a new car, it's clean and shiny for 3 months. After that, what happened? It lost its wow factor. So if you're not disciplined, if you don't have a purpose, if you don't know what you're doing with your money, you go and buy something else. Right. And that's the trend. But you get to a point where it's like, okay, I don't need to buy things because I know they're not going to fill me.
Yeah.
I need to build people because that's more rewarding. And it truly is. It really is. Seeing someone say, I've never lived in a house, never thought I can live in a house. And now my family, we're in a house. My daughter sees that we broke a chain of that.
That's awesome.
That's more rewarding than, you know,
any zeros on a check or anything.
Yeah.
That's life changing.
I mean,
Legacy
you do,
changing.
but you do need the money. So
Yeah.
I set the tone for them, right? I said, if God can do it to me, then you're in the right place.
Yeah.
Because we're all going to eat. I said, if I'm eating, everyone's eating. Now, sometimes as a business owner, you have to understand that I might be the last one to eat, but it's okay. I'm going to eat.
I'm gonna eat. That's right.
Right. But when you do that, when you understand that my people come first, it changes your perspective. Like I don't wake up and work hard for me. What else do I need? But it's, okay, how many families are dependent on their next check? We need to make sure that they're being fed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hunters hunt. So if you know how to hunt, you're going to eat.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're going to bring it in for someone else. So it's a matter of what you're saying. You're not bringing them to eat. You're teaching them how to hunt. They'll never go hungry.
Yeah.
Because if what I bring in, y'all eat, I know where to get my next meal from. I'm not depending on y'all leaving me anything left over. And I'm sorry, but I like my meat fresh.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not waiting for that. So many times it's like when you're teaching people and you're discipling them and you're mentoring them, that's the cadence. It's like, I'm going to pioneer, but I want to teach you how to hunt. Because I'm going to go hunt.
Yeah.
I'm going to go get what I have to have because I also have a family. I also have a legacy that I have to put in. I also have goals and things and dreams that God has placed in me to move forward. So hunters are going to hunt.
So true.
Gatherers are going to gather.
So true. So the only thing that is left is what you leave behind. The only thing that is left is what you leave behind because you can't take it with you. And Brandon, I've heard this in your narrative and I love this. You're about legacy. one of your aims through the work you're doing with Harvest is not just to supply people with great quality and efficient solar panels for their homes to help them save finances in their electric bills, but you have a bigger dream of leaving something behind. Why don't you share with us a little bit now about your dream of what you want to leave behind? What are you trying to build, and what would be success for you when you move on from here? Like, what do you want to see remain? What's your legacy? What are you trying to do?
Success for me is going to be dependent on how many successful people I have around me. Right. My definition of success is when at the funeral I can have, thousands of people that I've planted a small seed in. Right. That if my grandkids were ever to need anything, that we have generations of people that said, your grandpa did something for my grandpa. So now it's my time to help you. Yeah. Right. It's more than just how much money can I accrue, what can I buy, but it's how many people can I build. That's what I want to see is, especially in my culture. In my culture, it's always been as Hispanics don't work together. Hispanics are more like crabs. One is getting out the pot and they just yank it down before it. Right. So my mind has always been, I'm going to shift that paradigm that's going on with our cultures. Right. We look at other cultures. They work together. They build together.
Yeah.
Right. And that has always been my mindset. It's okay. I want to build not just material things, but people. Because if I can, again, it goes back to this, when someone's hungry, and me as a believer, if I know they're hungry and I have resources, my job is not going to tell you, hey, you know what, I'm going to pray for you that God supplies you with food. Or here,
you are the resource. You're right there in front of them.
Exactly. That's been the problem with our society, and that we're more of, oh, I'm going to just, here's a prayer for you, accept Jesus so that you're not hungry. It's like, I'm part of the body of Christ. If you're hungry,
I'm hungry.
Here's something tangible, because then you're going to see the tangible love of God.
Come on.
You've seen it through me.
Yeah.
Right. So that's my heart has been, how can I show people that tangible love of God? Because, faith is something that we can't see, but people can see God's love through something tangible, food, a house, something that you give. Right. So that I want to show that.
Great.
I want to bring, God's kingdom down to this earth. And I can't do it alone. So I need to build people so that we can do that. Because I build a couple hundred millionaires, then we can go to a country, we can really change, make an impact. I don't want to make a dent.
That's right.
It's about prayer and action, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
We can pray the most eloquent, amazing sounding prayers, but if we're not prepared to actually step out and be part of the solution to the problem, we're not going to get anywhere. And I like what you said about celebrating the success in other people, because as we become secure in who we are, we're able to then celebrate the successes in others. And as we start celebrating other people and recognizing gifts and skills and abilities and talents in people, and as we celebrate them, we actually attract it to ourselves. We've got to be so careful with the way in which we speak and the way in which we act, because if we celebrate success and celebrate successful people that are around us, they begin to associate themselves with us. And as we spend our time in a pool of people that are getting ahead and being successful, it has an effect on us. It impacts us. It changes us. And I think that's something we need to learn, all of us. We need to learn to be okay with surrounding ourselves with successful people, even when we feel inadequate. Sometimes we feel inadequate. We don't feel good enough. We feel like we're not there yet. And we feel small. We feel small in a room full of people that are like super, super successful. But actually, maybe you're in that room in the first place because that is a taste of the journey that's ahead of you. Okay, so I'm stepping out of my comfort zone. I'm taking a risk. I'm around people that appear to be way more intelligent and way more successful than I am, and I don't feel good enough in this environment, but maybe, just maybe, that's a taste of the journey I'm going to be on. And if I'm able to learn how to celebrate the people that are successful around me, maybe it means that when I become successful, I will then also impart and give to those that are on a similar journey to me. It's like you said earlier, isn't it? That we should have those three people in our lives. Those that are calling us ahead and challenging us and championing us to become more successful. Those people that are mentoring us and walking with us hand in hand to help us get there, but never forgetting that there's always somebody that's just starting out like we were. And if we learn to reproduce people that reproduce, if we learn that what we have freely received, we can freely give to others, the chain continues, the journey continues, and we're building legacy. We don't want to become successful just for our own sake. We want to become successful so we can impart and freely give that success and the fruit of that success to the people that are around us. Yeah.
Yeah, I read it. I think I read it in a book or heard a quote that once said, if you're the smartest person in the room, get out the room.
Right.
Right. So if you're in that room, that's the room you're supposed to be in. But another thing, to John's point, because I'm about to pivot here real quick, is if you're in that room, then you have a voice. I want you to understand. You may think that you don't, but if you're in that room and God has allowed you to be in that room and he has allowed you to be at that table, then you have value, because there were other people who don't have access to that room.
That's right.
There were other people who had opportunities, but God allowed you to be in that room. So yes, that's the room you want to always be in a room where you're not the smartest person there, but do not allow that to negate what got you there. Right? Because you have something of value to add that you may not think it is, but if God has allowed you to be in that room and you have an opportunity to speak, because that is what God has allowed you to do. So, Brandon, talking about successful people and surrounding yourself around successful people, tell me a little bit about one of the persons that has been surrounding you for years and has been around you for years, your wife, and what attracted you to her, and how did that happen, and talk to us a little bit about how that first encounter was, and how's that been for you, because if you've had success, right, she's been able to have a front row seat. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Oh man, I mean,
I know I came out of left field on that one.
I wouldn't be where I am without my wife.
Amen.
First without God, and then without my wife. Yeah, she's what attracted me to her is, aside from her look, she's beautiful, right? From the first time I saw her, my jaw dropped, said, "You're gonna be my wife." Really, it took me like a year and a half to get her to date me, but
okay. Hey, persistency, right? That man was
resiliency and persistency.
Right? There you go. But he's always had it.
Yeah, hey man, mama didn't raise a quitter.
Come on.
But what really attracted me to her was that she's smart. She's very intelligent. Because when I was young, I'm a little smart myself. I can't complain. I like to
flex
be
a little, bro.
Come on, no.
Let them know you're not a little smart. I'm not the smartest person in the room, in any room that Brandon is in.
I joke around with some friends that they like to bring up their IQ. And I took my IQ test, like an actual standardized IQ test, and I'm within the top 2% of the world.
Mensa.
Almost. I missed it by like
come on.
Yeah. So Mensa is like top 0.5%. I'm almost there. Okay. But so when I was young, I said, okay, if I'm smart, my wife is smart, I'm gonna have smart babies.
That's right.
Right? Like I'm always thinking for the future. But no, she was smart. Of course, she's beautiful. And also that how she was raised, that she feared the Lord. Because I saw her as I knew that who I married was probably the most important choice in my life, because when things got hard, that's the person that was going to fight alongside with me.
That's right.
Right. So I wanted someone that was going to fight with me, not against me.
And how has your relationship evolved, right? Because you're still relatively young, but you guys have had to kind of reinvent yourself through different, knowing yourself, both going to school, jumping into business, jumping into that. So what things have you done? How has your relationship evolved throughout all those different phases where you've had to kind of not reimagine yourself, but just shift?
At the beginning, in the honeymoon phase, of course it's great. It's your honeymoon phase, right? But what people don't talk about is that during that time, sparks fly, right? Because iron sharpening iron.
Big time.
Right? Sparks are going to fly. It's my background, my culture, what I was raised with at home, now merging what she was raised with at her home, right? Like, for example, Christmas for us was on the 24th December, right?
As well.
We at 10 o'clock, before even midnight, we were opening gifts. That was Christmas. 25th, nothing happened. Everybody's asleep. For her, Christmas on the 25th. They'd wake up early. All the family gathers together. They're opening gifts. So it might seem as something little, but when it was my parents had the gifts on the 24th, and they're like, let the babies open the gifts. She's like, no, but we don't open until the 25th. So, well, that's weird. Like, why? Right. So it's either two things. Either you fight or you adapt. Right. We pick our battles. Yeah. And we had to learn marriage is hard. The more you put into it, though, the more you get out of it. We learned one thing that it's so cliche, but it's so true. If you learn how to communicate, it makes marriage wonderful. So at first, sparks flying, but we're in that honeymoon phase, so it's still great. Yeah. We're young, and then you get past that kind of 3-year. They said if you make it past, that's your first hump, right? According to statistics now, most people divorce within the first 3 years. So we made it past that first hump. But then, then we became roommates. It was, we're living together, we're husband and wife, but we're not on the same page, right? And that's a dangerous spot to be, because if you don't catch that, you grow apart. You live together, but you're not together. Yes. You're roommates. You're glorified roommates. Yeah. And I see that happens a lot in our culture. We had to adapt. That brings its own set of problems, opens its own set of windows that shouldn't be open. But we learned how to be one, as the Bible says, right? We don't argue. I can't remember the last time I had an argument. Now, that doesn't mean that doesn't mean we agree on everything. But a disagreement or argument, two different things. We're not at each other's throats yelling. No, it's, hey, here's your point of view, here's mine. If I'm right, then I'm right. If she's right, then she's right. There is no, it's going to be this way because I'm the man, or it's going to be this way because you're the woman of the house. But we're choosing what's best for the unit, for us as a family, including the boys. Yeah. Right. So once we learned to communicate, it was a night and day. It was true. Like, I tell everyone, like, what are you waiting for? Get married. Hurry up. Yeah. Find the right one. Learn how to communicate and enjoy marriage. Like,
yeah, man. You've got to, I always say I've married my best friend, and I'm just hanging out with her every single day, and that's it. It's she holds me accountable. She knows me, and she's there. She's ride or die overall, and that's always one thing that attracted me from her, that resiliency and that go-to attitude. She was smarter than me. She still is smarter than me. So somehow she's going to hear this and listen to this. So I'm just attesting to you. She still is. But I think it's right. Communication is key. How do you communicate? And how do you communicate without words?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
communication is not words. How do you communicate without words?
Well, so here's the truth. Your spouse, no one is going to know you like your spouse.
Say that.
No one, your spouse is going to know the good, the bad, and the ugly.
That's right.
And the problem is that sometimes we don't want to accept the ugly or the bad, right? And that's where the conflict comes.
Yeah.
Because as men, I can only speak as a man, as a man's side. As a man, sometimes we want pride to get in the ways, and we don't want to accept what we do wrong.
No, you're right. I mean,
That's
when she
the
asks
truth.
you, where do you want to go eat? She's not asking you where you want to go eat.
Yeah.
What she's saying is, whatever you want. What she's really saying is what? You should know it's Thursday. You should know what I ate yesterday. You should know what my top 3 restaurants are. You should know how I'm dressed, and you should know exactly where you should take me to eat. So communicating without communicating is part of listening attentively and knowing.
Yeah.
Knowing what she's really saying is, don't ask. You should know.
You know what? I saw a TikTok video with the perfect response. It's like when the wife asks, "Where are you taking me?" He's like, "To your favorite place."
Oh, you're taking me so-and-so? He's like,
exactly.
Yes.
It's like,
and then you've got to hope that the bank balance is sufficient to take her to her favorite place, because you're thinking like, you're thinking Wendy's and she's thinking like the top steakhouse in Chicago or something.
That's a great strategy. Whatever works, man. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Follow what works for someone else.
Communication's key, isn't it?
Yes.
Communication really is key, because we've all heard that phrase that says, we're listening to respond. We're already thinking 10 steps ahead of the game. We've already got our next phrase organized in our head before we even listen to their response. And in marriage, especially, if we started to listen to understand and not only to respond, we'd be in a much better place. And every conflict, every single conflict can be solved or even avoided if we choose to communicate effectively. And I think all of us have got cross-cultural marriages. We've got marriages, all 3 of us, with people from a different nation. Our wives are from a different nation than we are. So we've got the cross-cultural element as well. That we are a product of our culture. We're a product of our family. We're a product of where we've come from. And we don't realize sometimes just how much in a box we are. Yeah. I'm English. I'm from England. I grew up in an English box. I have an English way of thinking. I have an English way of communicating. And my wife is Latina. She has a Latina box. The way she thinks, the way she communicates is completely different to the way I do. And I think in life, we have to learn that we're not all the same. We're not created the same way. We don't think the same way. We don't communicate the same way. And if we can improve the way in which we communicate with one another, and we can really carefully and intentionally listen to what each other is saying, we can find the table of reconciliation. As we put our own agendas down, our own ideas down, our own thoughts down, and we allow ourselves to be wrong sometimes and recognize that we're not always right, we can come to the table and we can really begin to relate and to communicate with that other person. It's not only in marriage, it's in business too. We have to find the common ground. We have to find the area which unites us. And why is it today that we don't know how to disagree with each other? We've lost the ability to disagree in honor. I appreciate you. I respect you. I love you even. But I don't agree with you right now.
And
Today,
that's okay.
What we've done nowadays
That's
is
okay.
we disagree. We draw our battle line and the other person's dead to us now. We don't agree with each other. We're completely in disagreement, but yet we can't still work together. I believe that with effective, healthy communication, we can actually fully disagree with each other and still work together.
Yeah, one of the decisions my wife and I made early, we're both very driven. We're both very bullheaded. We're the firstborn in both of our families, and we are very opinionated. So we bump heads a lot dating, and when we were early in marriage, we got married very early. But one of the things that we agreed on is we consider ourselves very great salespeople. So I can sell everything to anybody, so can she. So we agreed on this. If I have an idea and I can't sell you on it, it doesn't get done. No matter what happens, vice versa. If you have an idea of way of doing something and you can't sell me on it, it doesn't get done. It gets put to the side.
Wow.
It doesn't get done. And the reason for that is because we learn that if I take the bullish decision of just speed bumping over your objection, because I'm so impulsive, she's calm, my wife is analytical, thinks things through, I'm very impulsive, then when we get that watch or we get that thing that we wanted, every time you see it, what you're seeing is that I ran over your thought, I didn't consider you, and it's not gonna be enjoyable. right? Now, there's certain things that we've squashed, no worries. There's other things, okay, we're not going to do this for now. Let's put it in the box. Let's come back. Let me get some more ammo. Let me create a marketing plan.
I laugh because, I'm the impulsive one, right? So every big purchase that I want, like, I have a game plan to sell her on it. Like,
you have to.
Yeah.
you have to.
Oh my gosh. It's funny because she looks at me, she's like, fine. It's like, you got me. I'm like, I saw Eskimo, right? But
yeah. I mean, I sell fire to the devil and make him pay twice for it.
Come on.
Because it's gonna evaporate eventually, right?
But she was key for us because here's something that a lot of times, people don't see. When we're starting a business, the infant stage of the business is just like a baby. It's very delicate, right? So she worked full time for some time, and sometimes I had to use her money, not the money coming in. It was going into one account. I don't believe in having separate checking accounts. That's you're not one then if that's what you're doing. But that's nor here nor there.
No, say it, man. Say it. Say it. That's right. I second that notion.
Some people say give their wife an allowance, or the wives give the husband an allowance. And like, nah, then you're not building as a unit.
Yes.
You're just roommates again.
Hiding that money.
Yeah, you split.
Now I do have separate Amazon accounts because I want to get her something. I don't want her to know, for gifts and stuff like that. I'm just being full transparent out there.
That's funny.
That's different, right?
Yeah, right.
I don't want her to know I'm getting her a gift but her Amazon account gets a lot more action than mine. So I'm just saying.
You don't want her to know that you're just ordering on Amazon. I mean, what effort does that take, man? I mean, it just lands at the door. You don't want her to know. You have to take it out of the Amazon box and wrap it.
It used to be that way. Now you got a Ring camera, so now they can see. She's like, I didn't have a box come in today, did we? I was like, I don't know. Did we?
Like box. For us, it's backwards. I walk into the house and I'm like, hey, Amazon came again. So did I miss something?
Exactly.
I don't even ask anymore. It's like, hey, your stuff came.
There you go.
No, but sometimes we use that income from her work to supplement, to keep the business alive, right? And the key was that without her, we wouldn't have been able to survive, right? And as a man, it was hard. So I'm not gonna lie, I'm not like I was at home sleeping.
Yeah,
it's just that it was in the infancy stages, and like I said, sometimes a business owner is the one to eat last. They don't need it all. Because I got to make sure all my guys are paid. I got to make sure that we have money for material. We have money for the next job. And, my bills don't stop, but doesn't mean I have the luxury of stopping. So for a while, it was, her income was integral for our success. But now, that's why I tell her, because now she works with us, so she go to the office. Her desk is next to mine, so that's awesome too. We share time at work and at home. But I'm like, she works for 2-3 hours. Then I'm like, do whatever you want to do. Go to the gym, watch the boys. And I'll see you at home. Right? And she tells me, she's like, well, I feel like I'm not helping enough. It's like, you did your part when it was crucial. So now enjoy the fruit of that.
And that's important. It's that partnership, right? It's I always talk about is I'm Latino, so we love to dance. I mean, music is on and my feet are moving left and right. But you have to learn how to dance in your marriage in the season. And sometimes it's salsa, sometimes it's a little merengue, sometimes it's a little country, sometimes it's a little pop. So you have to learn who's gonna lead. Right. So in your situation, when that happened, it's like, okay, we're leading. So we got to go back and forth in this thing where we're dancing. Who's leading the dance, right? Let's slow it down. Let's figure it out. But eventually it comes to when the season changes, right? Let's have that conversation. And, using strategies, I tell, young couples and young folks all the time is, you've been together with her, married 5, 8, 10 years. It doesn't matter. The girl you married 10 years ago, it's not the woman that stands before you now. She's changed. Life has changed. Her mind has changed. Her desires have changed. Her goals have changed. Her body has changed. So you have to adapt. You have to continuously be intentional. You have to continuously seek out what is new, what is her new life, what does she like, there's always that intentionality behind it, and learning what's the dance and what's the season that we're in and how we're dancing in this new season. So the rhythm of the marriage can continue. So when the kids leave the house, that's when the party really starts.
So I want to piggyback on that.
Okay.
Because so the queen that my wife is today, like you said, she's not the girl that I married, but she's the queen that I molded.
Correct, because you married a princess who turned into a queen, but she needed to be molded to the queen.
Correct. So who she is now is a direct effect to how I have been as a husband.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the
Correct.
problem is that a lot of times, husbands 10 years later, they're like, well, she's changed. She's not who I want her to be.
Guess what, bro? You
That's
changed
on you.
also.
Well, she's a product of who you are,
Yes.
what you put into it. That's why I said marriage is what you put in is what you get out.
Exactly.
It's about, for me, it's about choices. It's perspective. We can be grateful of what we do have, or we can be critical of what we don't. It's about our expectations, isn't it? Managing our expectations. We can apply this attitude of gratitude. Thank you for my wife. Thank you for bringing her to me. Thank you for all that she is to me. Thank you for everything that she does. Thank you for the way that she's been wired, for the way she's been created. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Or we can start becoming critical, and we can start looking for the flaws, looking for the things that we don't like, looking for the things that have changed, looking for those things that haven't met our expectations in what our ideals were.
Yeah.
Because we all have these ideals. Marriage is going to look like this. My wife's going to look like that. As we grow old together, it's just going to be amazing all the time. But is that real? Rather than being grateful for the fact that we are married, that we've managed to get through this, that we've made these years, that we've invested all this time, and we're still working out, we can start becoming critical. So it's a choice. We can choose to be grateful for what we have, or we can choose to criticize what we have. And when we start criticizing what we have, it begins to break down. The things that we criticize and become critical about, we no longer value. Whereas the things that we are intentionally grateful for, applying gratitude to, they're things that we want to hold on to. We value the things that we love, and we have to teach ourselves. We have to tell ourselves, because love's a choice. It's a choice. I love this. I love my wife. I love that we've been together for 10 years. I love the fact that we've both grown and we've both changed. I love the fact we're not the same anymore, and we're not going to be. And we're going to continue growing. We're going to continue developing. And I'm going to choose to be grateful for that in the very beginning.
Yeah, I once heard someone said, you're marrying that woman 5 times over when you marry her. You're marrying her 5 times over. You're marrying her 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 40 years from now, 50 years from now. And you have to evolve and change with that. We've changed, right? So it's only natural that they have changed. And ask. I think we don't ask, hey, what am I still hitting the mark?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, what am I doing wrong? What things am I picking up on? Be vulnerable. Hey, am I still doing what I need to do? And if I'm not, hey, let me know, and be vulnerable with that and ask, because if you don't, then you're going to start picking up from your old bag of tricks that this doesn't work anymore.
Well, people don't ask that because they don't. A question like that, I already know the answer to. I just don't want to accept it.
That's
so
right.
If I ask my
Correct.
wife, if my wife was not happy, 9 out of 10 times, like, I know why she's not happy.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So for me asking, am I not doing something right? I wouldn't ask that. Or people that don't ask this because they already know the answer. They just don't want to. They don't want to hear it.
Yeah, correct. And that's a tall sign.
Yeah,
there's even more red flag. If you cannot ask the one person who's with you through and through,
because they already know you.
You know what I mean? It's like, hey, I'm trying to. Am I suspicious of this? Yeah, bro, you are. Now, depending on who you marry with, they're not gonna let you get to that point.
Yeah.
They're gonna tell you, bro, you got to get your game together.
Yeah.
You're not doing what you need to do. You need to put your stuff in order. But we have to learn to consistently be vulnerable and ask, because that we're called to cover our wives. And if you're not doing what you need to do and you're not covering, then what are you doing? You're exposing. You're exposing an area that you're supposed to be covering because you don't want to be vulnerable enough to ask the question. And asking is not submitting. Asking is clarifying and saying or confirming what you're going through. and coming together and finding out, okay, what's the tone? What's the next steps we're gonna take so I can hit that mark, so I can do what I have to do, because I feel that I'm slacking in XYZ. Help me out here. And I think that's important to have. It's always to have those open conversations.
Yeah, something that, you guys have seen how Gabby and I interact, right? And I'm going to have her on one of these podcasts with me so that she can say, we're very, like, my love language, one of them is touch, right? So she's always like rubbing my shoulders or my neck. I don't have to ask her, like, she's doing that. Right. But what people don't see on the flip side is, she doesn't have to ask for anything that she needs either. Like, I already know. We've been married for 12 years. Like, I know what she likes, what she doesn't like. I know what she needs. And I don't just meet the needs. I exceed that.
Come on.
So good.
That's really good.
I haven't. My biggest trouble is now by figuring out what I'm going to get her for a gift. Not because I don't know what she likes. It's because she has everything and plus. So I'm like, what do you want? Like,
Yes.
I'm like, what can we upgrade? Because but you get to a point, I already know, like, I don't, one time someone asked me in a marriage conference, they're like, hey, for our anniversary, I bought my wife pots and pans.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
I'm like,
Uh-oh.
I looked at her, I said, what is wrong with you, dude?
Bad idea.
A vacuum. What?
Well,
State of the art. No.
yeah. That's
It's different, right? Because if you give me a grill set or you give me something for the car, I'm gonna be ecstatic. Right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't-
Marriage 101.
Yeah, but it doesn't
never
translate
buy
to
your
that.
wife cleaning equipment
Nothing.
for
For
an
an
anniversary.
house.
Right.
What?
yeah.
No.
But it goes back to that. Like, I know what my wife likes. I know what she doesn't like. I know her needs. So she doesn't have to ask. So when you get to that point of trust between each other, like, and she also knows, like, she can see when I'm stressing the business, and I'll just feel hands come on my shoulder, and she'll just start rubbing my shoulders. I don't have to ask. But when you can get to that level of communication, where we know each other, I look at her and I know when she's stressed out about something. I don't have to ask.
Yeah.
And it's
because you guys have become one.
mm-hmm.
And I can't tell you how many times that's the only other word is weird and freaky when I'm just sitting there and I'm thinking, it's like, man, I would like a cup of coffee, but I'm not gonna ask. I'm not gonna get up and get it. I'm deep into this book study right now, and then 10 minutes later, there's a cup of coffee. And she's like, I was like, what? I was just thinking of that. She's like, oh, you were? It's like it's just that natural as one inclination. It's amazing. And I got countless stories of that. So it's awesome to cultivate that. And then that's the word. I think cultivate. You constantly have to cultivate. You constantly have to deposit. If you go to a bank, you deposit money in a bank.
Mm-hmm.
And if you like to make big withdrawals, and you need to make big deposits.
Yeah, come on. That's true.
That's true. Putting it out there as like you can't be depositing. You're gonna start overdrafting. Yeah. It's gonna cost you some fees down the line,
Mm-hmm.
And so many times we have to know what big deposits are we laying down into our marriages on the daily basis, so we can continuously withdraw what needs to be given to us. So
why do we make it so complicated? It's simple.
It's true. And then, so I want to say this to young couples, or even couples that have years under their belt. Okay, now that you see and you hear what a marriage should be, don't think you got to go start a new one.
Huh.
No, don't do that. It doesn't matter how bad you messed up. It doesn't matter how gone you think that relationship is. God can still step in if you let him.
yes.
So good.
All right, so don't go and start a new one, because I promise you, you're the problem, not the marriage. You didn't cultivate what needed to be. You didn't plant the right seeds.
No.
So you go somewhere else, you're just going to repeat the same mistakes.
So true. And we complicate it.
I
think that, John, we complicated something that is as simple as communicating openly.
The things we value, we take care of. And the things that we love, we invest in.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to keep doing it. It's like wash and repeat, wash and repeat. I value this, I'm going to take care of it. I love this, I'm going to invest in it.
I like that.
And the voice of the accuser, the voice of the enemy is going to tempt all of us. He's going to tell us the grass is greener on the other side. He's going to tell us you don't have to put up with that negative behavior that's wearing you down anymore. You can leave this, and there's an easy out, and you can go and get it somewhere else. But it's a lie. It's a lie. The things that we value, we take care of, and the things that we love, we invest in. And we've been given a gift of marriage. Our wives are a blessing. They're a gift to us. And they complete us. We're one flesh. We are united as one flesh. They are now part of us. And the devastating things that I've seen as I've done marriage counseling and as I've advised those contemplating divorce is you're going to lose part of who you are. You're going to give part of yourself away. You've spent all these years investing and building something that is beautiful. And now you've allowed yourself to be deceived by the voice of the enemy, and you're about to throw something away that you desired your whole entire life. How is it that we can desire something so strongly, we can want something so strongly that when we get it, we don't even realize what we have anymore? And it's so sad to see that the percentage of divorce and separation in the body of Christ is exactly the same as it is in the world. We have the same amount of divorces, the same amount of separations. We have the same amount of domestic abuse and violence inside the church, and we should be different. Mm-hmm. We're called to be like Christ was with the church. We're called to a higher standard. We are supposed to love our wives as Christ loved the church. Now, I don't think I do that perfectly. I certainly desire to do it, and it's a journey, and I'm still learning also. But how is it that something that was so desirable, so beautiful, so wanted, we could just throw it away in a heartbeat because it looks like something better has come along? The things that we love, we take care of. The things that we want, we invest in. We need to be investing in our marriages, investing in our relationships, investing in the very things that when they're taken away, we lose part of ourselves.
Yeah. No, that's really good.
Yeah, and, I want to add for that is I've met a lot. My marriage is great now, but it took work. If I would let yesterday's mistakes be what dictates today, then, we'd be in serious trouble. Just because you've made a mistake or just because your marriage isn't what you want it to be doesn't mean that you cannot change it. Right? So I want to give that advice to young couples out there is don't let yesterday's mistakes affect today. Right? Of course, you got to change. You have to put in work. You have to face the consequences. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean that because you made a mistake yesterday, you cannot have a bright future tomorrow. If you get marriage down, everything in life just somehow becomes magically easier.
Yeah.
I have someone fighting with me, right? I'm guarding one side and she's guarding the other. If I feel weak, she lifts up. If she feels weak, I lift her up. Mm-hmm. But it's much easier to fight when you have someone with you than when you're trying to, I'm already fighting the world. I can't be fighting with my wife too. Mm-hmm. Right? But so my advice to people is God can still change your marriage. Don't let yesterday's guilt stop you from what God can build tomorrow.
So good.
Real good. That's really good stuff. So what daily habits you would say that you have? Because we talked about consistency creates authenticity. What daily habits have you put down that you have attributed to your success as a business owner?
Okay.
Things that you do daily.
I get up early, and early is relative because sometimes it's 3 a.m, sometimes it's 6. But first thing I do is I take a 15 minutes to pray, because in business, here's the reality. I wish I could say every day was great. But as a business owner, you're a firefighter. You're putting out fires. So the first part of my morning is my me time. It's praying and just getting ready for whatever's coming. But the biggest thing that I do is I prioritize. So as an EMT, we learned that when, let's say, there's a mass casualty, we have to triage. So You go in and see all the situations and you prioritize, okay, this is 1, 2, 3, right? This person needs attention immediately. This person can wait. This one's dead. Call it as it is, right? I can't do it. So I can't focus on the person that's dead when I have someone that I can save but needs immediate attention.
Right.
I'm not going to go with him that has a scratch on his arm while I have your arm cut off and you're bleeding out. Right. So I learned how to take the first part of my day and then prioritize what needs to be done right now, what needs to be done later, and what do I need to delegate. And then I execute on that. Right. So it's every day seeing what needs to, again, I see, is there a fire that I need to put out now? Is there something that needs to be on my radar for later today or later in the week or later in the month? And okay, this has no importance to me. I can delegate that to someone else. And it's always waking up. But first thing I start with praying, because it's funny enough, I've talked to other business owners. Doesn't matter what the religion is. I was talking to God.
They call it meditation.
Well,
I'm just saying business books. Like, take some time to meditate.
Yeah. But I was talking to some guys from New York, and when I was telling them, I said, man, if you give me an advice to be successful, what would it be? He was like, well, he's like, believe in God. Like,
there you go.
I was like, as a business advice? He's like, man, he's like, I've gone into cardiac arrest. I've had all this other stuff happen to me because of stress. Then he's like, and the only sanity that I have is my God.
Amen.
And they're not a Christian. He's like, so she's like, if you believe in God, he's like, have your connection. But so I spent my first, and then I do know the guys that meditate, be one with the universe, all that. It goes back to the same thing. My foundation is on God, so I start my day off with that. I wish I could say I need to work out after that too. Oh,
got some good days and bad days.
Yeah, we'll say that. But it's first starting with my prayer, and then I look at what tasks I need to do, and I write them down. All right, because the problem is that as you grow in business, if you're not organized like that, things slip through the cracks.
Yeah.
Right. I'm getting, calls every 3 seconds. Literally, sometimes my call history on the iPhone, it's like 100 something calls. I check at 7 p.m. and it goes back to 1 o'clock. That same day. I can't look up any calls prior to that because of the volume of calls I've received. So it's about being organized, building systems to make sure nothing slips through the cracks. Yeah, I think that's short.
Yeah, that's almost what I was taught to do is create your list of priorities into A, B's, and C's. Right? You try to knock off your A's today, and if you can get to a couple of the B's, then that's good. Right? And then tomorrow morning, one of the best practices that I've learned is before your day is over and you're moving into today, whatever your A's were done, that's fine. If you couldn't finish any B's, turn your B's into A's for the next day, turn your C's into B's, and because things are gonna happen. I'm a visual guy. I need to see that I gotta check things off. That lets me know that I was successful because, like you said, phone calls come in, everything comes in, and you sit there 8 hours later, you're like, what did I do all day? Like, what did I really accomplish? So that's one of the strategies that I've learned that has helped me at least be able to stay organized and prioritize the priorities.
So good. We have to remember what's at the center. We get off-centered, or we get distracted, or we lose our purpose sometimes. And we have to come back to center. And the question is, what is at the center? Who or what is at the center? What is the reason we're doing this? What is our vision? What is our mandate? What are we trying to achieve? And if we're able to make choices that prioritize the things that we do based upon the reason we exist in the first place, we're able to come back to center again. When the pressures come or the stresses come or people are fighting for our attention or they just need something from us, if we're able to come right back to the beginning, right back to center and refocus ourselves again on the purpose, the vision and the mission that was given to us, it helps us come back It helps us come back, and it helps us take a deep breath, and it helps us remember why we're doing what we're doing. Because sometimes we just get busy. We just get so overwhelmed with stuff that needs to be done that we forget the why. Why are we doing this in the first place? What is the reason for our existence? What are we trying to achieve? And what do we want to leave behind?
So my morning routine has changed as the company has grown too, and I started to delegate.
Okay.
Right? Because now my mornings in the office are no longer what I have to do, but is what does the team have to do? So it's a quick, okay, do you have any questions, any fires that I need to help you put out? How does your list look? Anything that you don't understand? So on, give me a high level what's going on, and then we move on. Right. So that's our first thing as a team. That's part of our morning routine. Before, when it was me, it was, here's my list. But as you grow and you learn to delegate, because that's the only way you're going to grow a company.
That's right.
Right. It's by delegating. If not, you don't have a business. You're just self-employed. And there's a big difference. How I tell people to understand the difference is, okay, let's say you're self-employed or you're running a business, right? And I want to show you if you're either self-employed or truly running a business is what happens if you're sick. Does the business continue to grow, to perform without you? Right? If the answer is no, you don't have a business. You might have employees, but you're still self-employed. Because if you don't show up, nothing gets done. So as an owner, transitioning to becoming an owner, like I can be at the beach and the business is doing fine. That's the reality of it. Doesn't mean I'm going to be at the beach, because my job as the head is I'm the captain of that ship. Right. I'm seeing what's happening in the industry. I'm seeing what's happening in the marketplace. How do I need to steer the business as a whole? How do we adapt to changes that are coming? Right. So it's not like I have the luxury of, I'm going to be at the beach because the business is running by itself. No, I'm doing very high level things. But if I don't do that, the business is still going to function. Money is still coming in. I'm not in any of the day to day. So my morning starts by making sure the team knows what's happening, or if they need help with anything. And if it's for me, okay, then I step in. All right. But it's very high level. So you have to learn how to transition from, if you want to grow, you have to transition, right? From I do everything. I used to do the job of 5 people that I have now. And they laugh because they're like, that's their full days of work. And I would do everything that they do in a full day in one day. Now I'd work 18 hours and it sucked, but I could do it.
Yeah. So
now I delegate that, and I learned, and it was hard at first, because when you delegate, you have 2 challenges. One, as me doing it, is no one is going to do it better than I am, because it's my business. Mm-hmm. Not that they're not as competent, but that it's my baby.
Yeah.
Right. So I've put, blood, sweat, and tears into it. Yes, so sir. No one is going to do it as well as me, because no one has that same passion as me. So
and that's something that as an owner, I'm happy you understand, because many times we want to put the pressure on our team to love the baby.
Yeah, it's not
like
their baby.
We love it, and to outlive themselves for the baby. And they're like, bro, I'm the babysitter. But I'm not the father. So I'm not going to miss my family time. I'm not going to sacrifice my level. I might work some OT because there's a self-benefit, or I might help a little bit here and there. But when owners try to put that passion and then hold them to that standard, it's a recipe for disaster, because no one's going to love something that they haven't birthed and raised.
Mm-hmm. So it comes back to that same statement we made earlier, that the thing that you value, you take care of. So one of the keys to being a successful business owner is to transmit the message of the value that you have for that organization. If we create a culture with our staff and our employees of value, they begin to intrinsically value what it is that we've created. Now, they'll never have the same love and passion that we have for our baby, because the baby belongs to us and not to them. But if we can transmit or portray the value of what it is that they have the privilege of being part of, they begin to treat it differently as well. It will never be the same. They will never be able to treat it with the same passion that we can. But if they learn to value it, if we can transmit or portray the intrinsic value of what they have the privilege of being part of, they care for it more. And when they care for it more, our clients see it. They see it. It's like when we talked about integrity earlier. When we have integrity, we behave in a certain way. And when we value something, we behave in a certain way also. And again, the things that we value, we take care of. So my hope would be that as we grow in our businesses, as we become more successful, we'd be able to communicate the value that we have for it. Because as our staff and as our employees begin to grow in the things that they value, they'll take better care of it.
And that's good.
Well, here's, the business Harvest, and I speak with Harvest because it's mine. Harvest is more than the service and the product that we deliver. Harvest is the people that make it up, right? So my job when I take care of Harvest is to take care of its people. And I think that's the hard part of business owners to understand. Because yes, I know, especially at first, when you're teaching someone, no, they're not going to have the same passion, or no, they're not going to be able to do it as good as you can. That's okay. But they are part of your business. They are the business, right? Harvest isn't what it is without all of our people.
Correct.
That's the truth. I can't do it by myself. From the person in the office, either my assistant or all my project managers, down to the last guy on the roof, we're all one. We're all Harvest. And every single one of them is just as important. Now, as an owner, the transition is how do I say, okay, how do I value you as part of Harvest? If you're part of the team, part of the staff, is that challenge of, okay, I can do your job better than you, but I can't do your job and then do mine at the same time. So you're important. Without,
just as valuable as to what I'm doing. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And so is all the 30 other people on the team. And then the flip side to that is that not only do people are scared to teach others because they feel like they're scared of being replaced. See, I see the opposite. My goal is to be replaced. Like
that's what you're working towards.
Yeah, like,
work yourself out of a job.
Exactly, work yourself out of a
replaced.
position.
Like, I want to get to the point where someone else can take over, and I'm still making a little bit of money from then. I move on to something else, build on something. But
builders are always going to build.
Yeah, it's not just about me. Yeah. And I think that's the problem with self-employed, that I have to do it. I have to do it. Because that's what brings them self-worth. Yeah.
And that's what their center of value is, them. So their center of value is based on that, on their value of what they add to what their gifts are, not what their personality or what they really add as a person is. So.
Yeah. The other hard part when I transitioned to really delegate was that I had those employees that I first started with, my first crew. One, and he's a kid. He's the youngest one, right? He's a baby of the group. He was like 21, 22. When I told him I'm no longer going to be on the field because I'm going to oversee all the crews that I'm forming, he said, no. He said, but you've always been there. Like, well, no, that you can't do that. I said, look, we're going to grow with or without you. I want you here. You're special. I need you. But I'm not going to be here to hold your hand anymore.
That's right.
I'm stepping back, not to go to the beach. I am stepping back to grow and oversee and move pieces. I just move the pieces and then let them go out. All right. And it's that transition that your own people sometimes are going to tell you, no, you can't delegate. That's your job. You're the boss. You're supposed to do that. I said, no, that's why I'm hiring you.
Exactly.
Like, I'm building you for that. And it's
And that's
hard.
the key thing. I'm building you to do that. The whole intention of me walking beside you is so you can do it.
Yes.
And for me to step away, I was always going to step away. I just wanted you to be able to develop the skill sets, do what you have to do, and remove. But those shifts and those transitions makes the difference between a manager and an owner. Right? Those type of people that stay there, then you're not owning a business, you're managing a business. And there's a huge difference. You can call yourself self-employed, but if you're just there all the time and you're managing it, then you're just a manager.
You're a glorified manager.
You're a glorified manager. An owner is someone that steps away and is leading the next field, is plotting the next field, is pioneering the next field, is testing out, it's pulling them to the next field of destination that they're in because you're leading. And the leader is always someone who is taking the people from where they are to where you want them to be. And you have to be able to separate yourself to do that. And you can't do that if you're consistently just managing the field. So
good. Harvest is in a very interesting time right now, a very exciting time. It's in a time of grow or die. And growth requires change. And what we're going to see in this next season as we grow and as we get healthier and as we become more successful is people are going to have to change. And people are reluctant to change. But here's the scary part almost is we either are willing to change, which brings about growth, or we're going to die. And I know for Harvest that death is not an option. You guys have been created to be successful. You're going to grow. You're going to impact many families. You're going to touch people all over the DFW area. And in order for us to do that together as a team, we're going to have to be willing to change.
I agree. One of the hardest things for me has been letting people go. Because as a leader, I don't see, Juan, where you're at right now. I see the finished product. Even if you don't see it, I do. Right. So when people don't want to believe in what and who they are, it's been the challenge. And letting them go has been hard for me because I want to pull the best out of you. But sometimes I can't change you if you don't want to change. I can't make you better if you don't want to be better. And accepting that not everyone is as driven as me has been hard. And, we've had to let a few people go. We're rare to have people quit. It's more that we have to say, hey, you're not a good fit for us. Because we're growing at a fast pace. We're moving. Something that I tell all the new guys is put your shoes on, tie them up, you're gonna hit the ground running, right? Because I'm putting you through a fast track, bro. Because as a business, we're in that process, right? It's like you said, it's live or die type of deal. And when you're in those situations, you don't walk. You're getting chased by a bear, you're not gonna walk.
Nope, you gotta run. Run towards where it's going.
Yeah.
So Brandon, what are you looking for? Like, what is your criteria for a team member that might be considering joining the Harvest team?
Integrity. I can build a person, right, but I can't change their character, their foundations. I can add to what you have. So if you're already like a rotten apple, I can't really change your core. I can add to that. I can build you, I can mold you, but I can't change your core. So my biggest thing is integrity. Are you willing to do what's right when no one is watching you? Because if you're not, then you're not a fit. I don't micromanage. I build and I shoot out. That's it. So if your core is not in alignment with us, you're not a fit. And the second to that is complacency. I'm not okay with people that just are okay with surviving. Because that's not me. That's not Harvest. You don't go from 3 to 30 in 8 months if you're complacent. Yeah. It doesn't happen. So when I have people that come to me that are complacent, that are just, oh yeah, I'm okay with just, I want to make $500 a week, $1,000 a week. How do you even live off that? Even if you can, why do you limit yourself? Why do you fall short? Why do you put a box around yourself? When if you knew who you are, you would understand. Like, we're royalty.
That's right.
You're not meant to be eating at McDonald's all the time. There's a season for ramen noodles, but you're supposed to work your way up to steak and lobster.
That's right. That's right. Gotta work your way up.
Come on, like, don't settle for ramen noodles when you got steak and lobster waiting for you.
That's right.
And so those are the two things: is integrity, and then being driven. Because this is a place where we're growing, and my goal is to help people grow. So it's not. I don't really care what skills you have, because I can teach you a new skill if you're coachable, and if you're driven, I don't have to babysit you. And if you walk with integrity, I know that where I send you, you're not going to tarnish our name. Because when you work for Harvest, it's more than just you as a person. You represent a Harvest, and Harvest represents a kingdom business. There's a lot of weight to that.
Brandon, tell me, what is it that sets you apart from any other solar company here in the DFW area?
Integrity, man. It's easy. We treat every customer if they were my mom's house. We're going to give you the best product, the best workmanship, the best customer service. Like, I want to be able to see you at the grocery store and you be happy that you work with Harvest. We start with our local people. No, but if you can't see me at the grocery store and be happy, then I'm not doing something right.
Yeah, and you also want to be able to, which, so Harvard Solar has been a testament that even if we part ways from a business transaction, we don't part ways from the kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
We part ways in honor, in dignity, and stay in those relationships in a way that even though we parted ways, right, in a way, you still see me like, so, hey, man, what's going on? How you doing? How's your family? What's going on? And that's the difference for Harvest that I've been able to see. I've been able to experience. You don't see that. You don't see that in business for the most part. You don't see that. That's something that sets the tone differently. If you have a fresh entrepreneur, he's looking to launch a business, she's looking to launch a business, young couple, what's the one piece of advice that you would give them that you wish you had, knowing what you know now?
Don't do it. No, if you're doing it because of what you see on social media, don't do it. Yeah. It's not easy.
Should they do it because of the money?
No. Because the money doesn't always come.
Come on. I'm just putting it out there.
The money doesn't always come.
That's what they tell you. So don't do it for money. Do it for your why.
So what does drive you, Brandon? What is the driving force behind what you do with Harvest?
I want to leave a legacy. I want, my last name to be cemented in like the Rockefellers, the Carnegies, right? Not just for the amount of money we do, but think of all the impact they had too. Yeah, there's some stuff that they had that doesn't fly well, but they got foundations that help all over the place. They got buildings that they raised in that family trust, right? I want to leave a legacy. Say that this was a man of God that raised, made, and built wealth, but then used it for the kingdom. Right? Here's how many families were impacted. Here's how many homes were built. Here's how many kids were fed. Here's how many millionaires were made. Here's how many people that, were in poverty and were changed because of working with Harvest. So it's more than what I can buy. It's what can I do? What impact can I make? Because in business, if you're an entrepreneur, you're not always going to make money. Yeah. Like I said, sometimes I'm the last to eat, sometimes I don't eat. That's the reality. If a business owner tells you otherwise, they're lying to you. I don't care. This year's interesting, though, because most business owners are admitting that they're not eating.
The economy's tough, and it's the ebb and flow. It's like getting on a roller coaster. You're strapped on, and you got to take that ride, ups and down and loops and around.
I would say it's okay to be number two. This burden is not for everyone. Right. Being an entrepreneur, having a business, there's the rewards, but it's also a burden that's not meant for everyone to carry. Not everyone can handle it. You have to be called and chosen for it. And it's okay to be a number two. It's okay to go to someone else that is called for that and said, hey, I'm going to be your right hand. I'm going to be your Jonathan. Like, it's okay. That's not build with someone else when that has that calm, that's made for that burden, because it is hard. 90% of the time you feel like you're getting your teeth kicked in. That's the truth. You're putting out fires that you didn't even cause.
Yeah.
And the bigger you grow, the more fires you put out that you didn't cause. And sometimes I get phone calls and I'm like, why would they do that? Like, what were you thinking? But guess what? I have to solve it.
Yes.
So advice for someone else trying to get into business, if you're doing it just because you think it's cool,
And I like that. Identify, are you an A-type leader? Are you a B-type leader? Are you a supportive type leader? Like, what type of leadership are you in right now?
yeah.
And what's been your current role? Because whatever your current role is, most likely that's what your gifts are adapted to. And every big company will tell you, and every successful individual will talk about their team.
Yeah.
Those that are around them that have made them successful. They don't talk about themselves. That I wouldn't be who I am if my office admin didn't do this, or if my executive didn't do this, or if my second that wasn't doing this wouldn't not allow me to do that. So I think that many times we all want to lead, but I think it's fine to say from a biblical standpoint, there's scripture to support that not everybody's built to lead, but we do need everybody's gifts to make it happen. So identifying what your gifts are, knowing what your lane is, and coming across with someone else and say, hey, let me run with you. Let me do what you're doing. Let me help you. I feel like I gotta come in and support you. For me as a leadership, as a pastor, I think it's great when people say, hey, I want to come around you and build. That's just where we're going. And that excites me more than anything, because I'm like, all right, I've got some leverage. I've got some things that I can spread out, and we can move forward. We can accomplish more. And there's victory, and there's dignity, and there's honor, and that's your role. Your role is to be a number two. You might as well be a number one. I'm reminded of Joseph in the Bible. It says that he had a chariot and Pharaoh had a chariot, but it says that Joseph's chariot had to be the same speed and built the same way of the Pharaoh's, because he had to keep up with Pharaoh. He didn't have a less chariot. He didn't have less horsepower. He didn't have less glamour. He had to be up and running with Pharaoh. And he had the same amount of strength and everything that he had. And he was a number two, but he had the same capacity and the same access to everything, even though he was just a number two. So number two doesn't mean less. It means that's what you was called to do. And that's okay.
Yeah. Number two, business-wise, number two still make a lot of money. And guess what?
And like you said,
without
of the pressure.
But yeah, I need my number two, my number three. And that's why they're rewarded the way they are.
Yeah.
Because I need them.
Yeah.
And it's okay. Some people, if you can get past wanting to be the number one, because wanting to be the number one, people want to do it now for glamour. It's not glamorous. It is not. Being the face, being the front line, being the shield, being the one that takes all the punishment and has to cover everyone, it's not glamorous. It is not. So that's why I say it's not for everyone.
That's right.
You know, social media is 99 of it is fake. Most of those guys that say they're making a whole lot of money, when you look at their account,
everything is rented.
I know people that would rent Airbnbs, rent cars just for more.
Jewelry is rented. Everything is rented.
I know them.
Tags are still on the shirts.
I know them personally.
Yeah.
And I would ask, why are you doing this? He said, I have to maintain this appearance. I'm like, your appearance isn't worth anything when you can't put gas in your car, dude. Right. But so a lot of people, especially these young kids, like, oh, I want to start a business because I see all the glamour. No, it is not like that. It is going to be painful. You're going to feel like you're getting your face kicked in most of the time. Now, if you have the right team, you can win. But you're in war. That's what a business is. I'm in war, right? And I can't do it by myself. I need my number two, my number three. so that we can win. We win together. But it's okay, like, to be number two. So if you want to just make a lot of money, if that's it, go be a number two to someone.
Yeah.
You can make a lot of money and not have to worry about any of the stress. Now, if you're called to lead and pioneer into something new, then man, get ready.
Get ready. Strap on.
Get ready and find
go.
your number two. Don't do it yourself.
That's right. We're not built to do this alone. We're built to do this with partners and community overall. So no heroes here. It's all a partnership.
So good.
Any other questions?
Brandon, on those difficult days when it looks like everything's going wrong, what do you do to keep yourself motivated and to encourage yourself?
Man, I've come to realize that I don't do what I do because of feelings. I have to. It's a responsibility. It's whether I feel like doing it, whether I don't feel like it. Doesn't matter. I do it because there's families that are dependent on me to get up and go. Right? I'm not in business for feelings.
Brandon, when a contract looks like it's going to fall through and it looks like a disaster, what do you do then?
Man, I don't count anything that I have until it's all said and done. You know, some people, before they get any money, they already spent it. I don't worry about the ifs and ands. I do my part, and I know that God's gonna work in the supernatural. But yeah, I don't focus on what can happen or all the ifs, because that just adds unnecessary stress. And I don't know what's gonna happen. I deal with the fires that it comes.
How do you respond to the opposition to the solar industry right now?
I'm too competitive, man. I say this. I'm very smart. I play chess with the industry. So I love everyone, but if you're in my way, you will get destroyed. Business-wise, right? Why? I will outsmart you. We have the better product. We have better customer service. Out in the industry, there's a lot of bad players, and they're being exposed, and that excites me because that's more marketplace for us. We're gonna take over. So join us, align to our values, or watch out.
How do you plan to use the success of Harvest to bless other people?
Oh, that's great. Well, we have a lot of projects going on. We want to bless Central and South America, build houses out there, align with strategic partners that have already either like shelters or like soup kitchens, where we can, infuse some of resources into them, and then scholarships. I also want to start scholarships that are from Harvest to up and coming, students, Hispanic communities, to be specific.
Brandon, you spend a lot of your time on very expensive roofs in areas like Highland Park in Dallas. What do you think about those people that don't have roofs over their heads?
Man, that's part of why I wake up every morning, is that some of the resources that Harvest is generating is to help people that don't have that commodity of having roofs or food. That's why I always say, it's more than just a prayer that I want to say for people, but I want to give them something tangible, show them God's tangible love by putting a roof over their head or food on the table.
Brandon, you have vision to build a house for somebody that doesn't have a house. What time frame do you want to achieve that in?
It just depends on the location, and depending on what country you're investing in and where you're helping. The price also, it's the reality. The factor that price factor comes into play. So depending on how much that costs, who else will join in the vision with us, is how many we can do. But I mean, if you ask me, I'm ready as soon as yesterday. Right? That's always been, I don't like to say our trajectory of how many people we've helped, but if you were to know me, you throw a stone out, you find people that have been blessed by Harvest, whether it's food, whether it's rent, whatever it is, whether it's showing them a new skill. That's what our heart is to build and help others.
Brandon, give me one of your secrets. What's one of the keys to be successful in business?
It's trusting God. That's what keeps me sane. And it's also my secret weapon, man. I can sense seasons and know what's coming. And I don't think it's because of me, but it's that favor that God has put in me. Right? So I'm able to see, something happening in the marketplace, and I'm also able to see what changes I do, how that would address what's happening. Let's say it's like a variable, right? And I'm running an experiment. I know that if I change variable X to this, I can predict the results, which is something very interesting. I don't know why I can do it. I don't know how. I don't know. It's a gift that God put in me, right? But I can see what's happening, and then I can adapt and know how my reaction, how that helps us or how that sets us aside. That's what's allowed me to grow. Right? It's being able to predict what's coming.
We've just seen one of the major solar companies file bankruptcy recently. What are you doing to make sure that doesn't happen to you and Harvest?
Oh, that's a very complicated question, because I've been predicting that this is going to happen for about a year and a half. The whole industry as a whole, it's not sustainable. Right? You have sales companies that have no liability, that have no ethics, have no integrity. Not all of them, the majority of them. And they're selling these contracts to homeowners at an overinflated price. They're keeping 80% of the profit. Then they're selling that contract out to an installer, which that installer is making pennies on the dollar. That's the reality. They're making pennies on the dollar, and they're carrying all the liability. The overhead is very high just to do business. And they get to a point where they're having to rob Paul to pay Peter, right? Because there is money coming in, but that money is not profit. They're confusing revenue with profit. It's two different numbers. This huge company, it doesn't matter if they were moving $1 billion in revenue, right? But if the profit margin is 1%, they're running very slim. And you can only do that for so long, right? So that happened in our industry from the beginning, right? The guys with no liability are making all the money, and the people with all the liability and the overhead, they're moving money because all the money goes through us, but we just pay it out. So I could be $1 billion company, but I'm not making any money. So what happens when I need to adapt? I don't have money. Got a business. It's not the first one.